He was the most unjust emperor in history. Chu Yunhe stationed in the Great Wall and entered Luoyang's legacy in later generations. But he only left the reputation of killing his brother, killing his father and being very fond of merit, and being a heroic soldier alone. I quickly lost Gei in just 14 years and played a good hand of cards to a bad end. So is the famous tyrant typical in history, worthy of his name, or tragically slandered? This video will restore the life of Suiyang Emperor Yang Guang. In 604 AD, Emperor Wen of Shu Yangjian died. Before he died, he sent someone to find the deposed Prince Yang to the palace. The news leaked and Yang Jian died mysteriously. Yang Guang passed on a false edict in the name of his father, and deposed the crown prince Yang, and sent someone to recall the Han King Yang Liang of Jinyang. King Yang Liang of Han was dissatisfied with Yang Guang and killed his father and brother, and rebelled in August of the same year. Yang Guang sent Duke Yang Su of Chu to quell the rebellion and deposed Yang Liang as a commoner. In order to avoid future troubles, all Yang sons were executed, and more than 200,000 households were implicated in this chaos. Yang Guang ascended the throne with the blood of his brothers and nephews, and his New Year's name was Day. He wanted to announce to the world that he would create an unprecedented great cause. Yang Guang's first major event after ascending the throne was to welcome the eastern capital, Luoyang. The capital of the Sui dynasty was Chang'an, but due to years of war, the surrounding food and grass could no longer support the operation of the capital, and they still needed to rely on the Shaoyun in Guangdong. In the event of a deserted year, the court would move to Luoyang, and this problem was not solved well until the Tang dynasty. Yang Guang welcomed Luoyang to relieve the pressure from Chang'an, so he spent a lot of money to collect 2 million civilians every month to Yaoyi, and completed this huge project in just 10 months. The newly built Dongdu Luoyang is brilliant and magnificent, and is one of Yang Guang's most proud achievements. However, under this prosperous picture, there are a lot of bones. According to the qualifications record, during the construction of Luoyang, due to the tightness of industrial and enterprise, the civil servants worked day and night, resulting in nearly half of the civil servants' deaths. The car used to transport the corpse can't see at a glance, and the arrival of Luoyang is just the beginning. In addition to Luoyang, Yang Guang also likes the scenery of Zhongnan very much. He has built more than 40 pair workers along the way from Chang'an to Zhongdu. In order to communicate with the north and south, Yang Guang ordered the canal of the People's Book Army to evaporate, connecting the canal built in the previous dynasty into the Grand Canal that runs through the north and south. This Grand Canal is centered on Luoyang, extending to Kuaiji in the south and to Chujun in the north. It is 2,700 kilometers long and is the earliest and largest canal in the world. It brought convenience to the later Tang and Song dynasties, but it brought countless sufferings to the people of the Sui dynasty. Just like welcoming Luoyang, the construction period for the Grand Canal in the Sui dynasty was also very tight, and countless civilians were killed or injured. Many people even rely on self-harm to escape. After the city and canal were all available, millions of people evaporated to build the Great Wall, and 4 or 5 of the dead were dead. Objectively speaking, Yang Guang and other great heroes did consider the design of the country, but more of them were Yang Guang unwilling to be an ordinary wise ruler to defend the city. He wanted to become a great emperor who was comparable to Qin Emperor and Han Wu. As for the suffering of the people, this is obviously not something Yang Guang would consider. However, will such endless efforts of people really not be retaliated by the anger of the people? The first large-scale civil unrest during the reign of Emperor Yang of Sui occurred in 610 AD. Due to Yang Guang's excessive conquests and soldiers dancing alone, the people were overwhelmed. Therefore, in this year, 3 uprisings occurred in Luoyang, Yanmen County and Zuya County, but they were quickly suppressed. It was Yang Guang who really ignited the uprising in Gaoguli, which completely sent the Sui dynasty to a dead end. Gaoguli attacked the Sui dynasty during the Kaiguing period and was repelled by local defenders. Yang Jian sent 300,000 troops to attack, but was forced to terminate due to poor food and grass and the ship sank. Gaoguli apologized and both sides stopped their troops and made peace. In 611 AD, Yang Guang was dissatisfied with Gaogu Pair and did not abide by the vassal etiquette. He was determined to mobilize the whole country to eliminate Gaogu Pair in one fell swoop, so he collected an army of 1.13 million and more than 2 million civilians, and marched towards Gaoguli in the first month of the following year. In Yang Guang's view, Gaoguli is just a foreign land. How can it defeat 1 million troops? Unexpectedly, due to the long front and improper command, the Sui army did not capture any city in Gaogu. Instead, it suffered losses and suffered heavy casualties. Yang Guang was unwilling to admit defeat and went to Gaogu again the following year. Unexpectedly, even the besieged Cantonese language failed to conquer the Liaodong city in Gaoguli. The battle situation on the front line was still burning, but Yang Shuanggan, who was responsible for transporting grain in the rear, rebelled first. He was dissatisfied with Yang Guang's suspicion of him, so he gathered 100,000 people to raise an army in Luoyang. Preparing to attack Luoyang, Yang Guang hurriedly withdrew his troops after Wenshun. The food and grass were piled up like a mountain, all of which were higher than Li Xiaonao. Yang Shuanggan's rebellion was quickly put down, but his confidant Li Mi escaped. After several twists and turns, Li Mi finally came to Wagongzhe. The most famous Wagongzhe chess in the performance art will be about to debut. At this time, the Sui dynasty no longer had the atmosphere of Kai Wang's rule. Yang Guang pursued great achievements and built construction all year round, conquering excessive conquests, and with natural disasters, the people's lives were extremely poor. The country has reached this point, and it will be a matter of time before it perishes. However, Yang Guang did not let go. In the third expedition to Gaogu in AD 614, this time, countless gentry fled on the march alone, and Yang Guang's order to suppress the situation failed to curb the momentum. However, Gaoguli was unable to confront the Sui dynasty anymore, so he took the initiative to move forward and ask to step down. Yang Guang felt that he had won, so he ordered the withdrawal of his troops. After returning, Yang Guang summoned Gaoguli Wang to the court. The other party ignored it. Only then did Yang Guang realize that he was teased by Gaoguli. However, he was no longer able to beat Gaogu pairs. The three chasing Gaogu had completely emptied the national strength of the Sui dynasty. All regions were lifting up one after another. The court was unable to take care of itself. However, the favorite ministers around Yang Guang whitewashed the peace every day, which made Yang Guang feel that this group of bandits was not a problem. However, what was even more fatal was that the Guanlong nobles were already very dissatisfied with Yang Guang. Yang Guang, like his father Yang Jian, is suspicious by nature and treats people harshly. In order to ensure centralization, Yang Guang has been suppressing Guanlong group and reusing the people of Jiangnan. With the situation of counterattacks everywhere in the central plains, he decided to leave the eastern capital Luoyang to seek refuge in Jiangdu. However, the person who advised him was shot and killed by Yang Guang in court. So far, no one dared to stop Yang Guang from leaving Luoyang. Set on the destined dead end. Before leaving, Yang Guang left his grandson Yang Dong in Luoyang, and the doomsday of the Sui dynasty began. Not long after, the leader of Wagongzhe, Zeze, rebelled. Because Li Mi gave his advice, the Wagon army was in a state of unstoppable force and captured the villages. In the spring of the following year, approaching Luoyang and occupied Luku Kang. Yang Dong was still young and could not stand alone at all. All the troops he had created were defeated by the Wagon army. In desperation, he could only send 40% of Taichung Yuan Shan to Jiangdu for help. At this time, Yu Shiji, the favorite minister around Yang Guang, said that his highness was deceived by these people when he was young.
这时候，杨广身边的宠臣于世基说道：“殿下年幼，被这群人诓骗了。”
If Dongdu is so dangerous, how did Yuan Shanda come out? Yang Guang believed Yu Shi and drove Yuan Shanda back. Luoyang lost the last straw in this way. Soon, Duke Li Yuan of Tang raised an army in Jinyang and marched into Chang'an under the banner of the deposed emperor and kings of all dynasties. Finally, he invaded Chang'an in November of the same year, and welcomed Yang Yu as the emperor and Yao Zun and Yang Guang as the emperor. After the news came, Yang Guang felt that it would be difficult for him to die well. He fell into the final madness and lived a life of drunkenness and dreamed of death all day long. He chose folk beauties to enter the palace, and beat the palace maids to death with a disagreement. One day, Yang Guang sighed in the mirror, "It's so good to go to the well, who will follow it?" The one who could jump into the well was not Li Mi or Li Yuan, but the imperial guards and generals beside him, Yu Wenji. As Yang Guang came to Jiangdu with the imperial guards, most of them were spectators, and they were homesick, seeing that Yang Guang was drunk and dreaming and did not want to go back. They were indignant. They recommended the Yu culture collection as the leader and carefully planned a coup, known in history as the Jiangdu incident. Late one night in March 618, the rebels rushed into the Jiangdu palace and captured Yang Guang, massacre all the wives outside the royal family in the palace, and even Yang Guang, his 12-year-old son, was killed in front of Yang Guang. Yang Guang said, "Even if I am rich in the people, are there still people rich in you? You are still in trouble with honor, disgrace, and rape?" The language culture is extremely strong, and you sneer and want to kill Yang Guang with a knife. Unexpectedly, Yang Guang suddenly said, "The emperor has his own way of dying. How can he use a sword ring to get Zhenju?" Yang Guang wants to be decent, but his language culture is urgent and he doesn't want to give him decent. In desperation, Yang Guang took off his headscarf and asked Lingu Xingde to strangle him to death. When the news reached Luoyang, General Wang Shishang supported Yang Dong as the emperor, and later killed Yang Dong and proclaimed himself emperor. Li Yuan, the Duke of Tang in Chang'an, also forced Yang Yu to abdicate and ascend to the Tang dynasty, and used Guanzhong as a base to wipe out all the heroes. In the 624th AD, after the Han dynasty, China ushered in a powerful and great Tang dynasty. As for how we should view Yang Guang, we need to know that the Sui dynasty he took over was not a perfect country. On the contrary, because the criminal law in Emperor Wen of Sui was too strict in his later years, social conflicts were becoming increasingly serious. And what Yang Guang did was to step on the accelerator on the downhill road of the country. He ignored the fact that the officials and the people were already disloyal, but instead danced alone with great strength, wanting to show off his lowest hegemony. In the end, the people rose up and the generals committed their own rebellion. Ironically, when the dynasty was destroyed, the people were in poverty and the country was poor. There was still a large amount of food and grass resources in the treasury, and these heritages were left to the later Tang dynasty, laying a solid foundation for the prosperity of the Tang dynasty.